Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. Today is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I do my Q&A videos where you get to ask me your questions from like the week previous, and I do my best to try to answer your questions this week. And this week I have some really great questions that were asked of me. A lot of Golden Age kind of questions. So people ask me about my top 10 most wanted books, what you can buy from the Golden Age for Batman, uh, and just some really great questions. So let's get into the questions. Yeah, all of them are really great. So the first question comes from Matt Blogs. A super obvious question, but I don't think you've been asked it yet. What would be your top 10 most wanted comics if money and availability wasn't an issue? Well, for me, I actually want it to be like that. I'm the only one in the world that owns the comic. I always have I have that ego thing that goes on, um, but for me, it would be Action One. That's kind of like the grail of grails, right? So it's a book that I'd love to have just because it's so cool. First Superman, first kind of a comic historically which brought in the Golden Age. So I kind of feel like that's a major book that I'd love to have in my collection, and I'd want to have it in the highest grade. All these would have to be in the highest grade because money's not an object. I'd want them in the highest grade. Um, the next one would be Marvel Comics #1 because it is another one of those kind of historic books. It's the first Marvel Comics. And it's one that has first appearances of the Human Torch and the Submariner kind of. So then there'd be Detective 27. Detective Comics 27 is, first Batman, kind of a cool issue. I just always wanted, these kind of key first appearances. I really love collecting those. So Batman is kind of key to me. One of my favorite characters of all time. So I really like Batman. So definitely he would be in there. The next one would be Batman 1. So I kind of like it for three reasons. One, it's the first Batman title, but also it is the first appearance of the Joker and kind of the first appearance of Catwoman, two characters that I really like. So for all those reasons, I'd really like Batman 1. The next one would be All-Star 8. All-Star 8 has the first appearance of Wonder Woman, a character that I really, really love. Probably one of my favorite characters of all time. There's a couple others that I really like, but Wonder Woman would be definitely one of the ones that I really love. And for me, Wonder Woman, I would want to have the trifecta. So I'd want All-Star 8, Wonder Woman 1, and Sensation Comics #1. So those three books would definitely have to be in my top 10 list. And I actually, fortunately, already have those books. So I'm quite happy about that. The next one would be Amazing Fantasy #15. Another big character that, Spider-Man, his first appearance would be kind of cool to have. So, I actually do have that one. It's right behind me. But yeah, so these are the kind of big books that I would love to have. Why not, right? So, and I'd like it in that like 9.6 where it was the $3.6 million one. So yeah, so the next one is kind of an interesting one that probably most people wouldn't think about, but it is definitely one that I want to have, and I almost got it once, but I was just priced out of it. And it's Police Comics #1. It's the first appearance of Plastic Man and first appearance of Phantom Lady. Just a really kind of a cool issue. I just really would love to have that in my collection. Police Comics, kind of a cool thing. I loved Plastic Man as a kid, so I always wanted to have that one. And the last one for my top 10 would be Motion Picture Funnies Weekly. Now, Motion Pictures Funnies Weekly is the first appearance of the Submariner, true first appearance. It was like sort of this almost like brochure-like comic where they kind of distributed it in the movie theaters, and it was very limited distribution. But it's kind of a cool little comic, really rare. I think less than 10 known to exist. Just a really cool comic. I'd love to have that. So the next question, so those are my top 10. Next question is from Batman Loves Comics. And hello, I started collecting Golden Age Batman I have a low grade Batman 29 and 75 and was wondering if there are other semi-affordable Golden Age Batman / detectives for under $300. And yes, there are. So as long as you're willing to go lower grades, there's a fair amount of affordability within the Batman run. Key issues, key covers are out of that $300 range. But there's a lot still that are within that $300 range. And I'm going to give you some that you can get right now. You can go out and buy them right now because they're available. And I'm going to show you some from my collection that I have that I paid under $300 recently for. So I'll show you the ones I have in my collection. So the first one is Batman 53. This is one that was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. It's a great Batman cover too. You got the box and the bat flies out of it, which is kind of cool. And then you got Batman and Robin smashing through the door. You can see mine's a low grade. It's missing a corner. But actually kind of funny because the way the corner is missing, it kind of completes the Batman still. It's kind of weird. So this is, Batman 53. I paid $279 for this. So it's in a 2.5. So again, as I said, lower grades, you can kind of get them for that price. Actually, this would be really well presenting if it wasn't for that corner. Just so sad about the corner. The next one that I got for under $300 is another one that was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. This is Batman 64. And this one I picked up for $147, $147.50. So this is in a 1.8. It actually presents really, really well for the grade. But, it is a lower grade. The reason this was actually mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent was I think it's like one of those ones where Batman sort of rescues Robin, which seems to happen a lot. Batman finds Robin all tied up or something like that. And Frederick Wortham, who wrote The Seduction of the Innocent, he felt like that was kind of homoerotic. So, so that was why this was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. So kind of a cool book, and it's under that $300 mark. So just because it's under $300 doesn't mean you can't get cool key issues. Another one that I didn't bring, but actually is a really cool key issue, is Batman 79. And I bought, I think it's a 2.0 or 2.5 for $77. So really affordable. And it's a key issue because I think it is the first cover appearance of Vicky Vale. So kind of a cool book. And again, I bought it for under $100. So you can probably get a higher grade, maybe a 4 to a 5 range, for around $300. And there's a lot others like that you can buy. So the ones that are sort of non-key covers or non-key appearances, you can pick those up for under $300. And if you buy coverless, well, you can buy a lot for that. But for the most part, you can get like the range 1.0s to 2.0s to that range, but for that $300. Now, here's some books that you can pick up right now that are available on mycomicshop.com. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just recommending that you can pick them up. And they're all under $300. I kind of did a little bit of searching for you. So there's Detective Comics number 117 and a 2.5. That's all of these have best offers. You can maybe even get it cheaper than what I'm saying. So it's $250 or best offer. And then there's a Detective 169, and it's in a 4.0, and it's $299. So just at that $300 mark, but also has best offer. You can get maybe a better price. And it's a 4.0, so it's reasonable good grade. The next one is Batman 70, and you can get that in a 2.0 for $234 or best offer. And there's a Batman 72 in a 1.0 for $169.95. So those are some of the options. So not too bad. You can get a few cool Batman Golden Age books for under that $300 mark. So maybe you could even pick up a couple, two for the price of $300. So that'd be pretty cool. So that's that question. Next one is from Jacob Bornowski. What are your thoughts on Planet Comics? And could you show off some, please? Sure. So I'm a big fan of Planet Comics. I consider Planet Comics to be sort of the gateway drug for the Golden Age. It's sort of like semi-affordable for kind of like, kind of cool covers. It is one where a lot of collectors will first start off when they're kind of dabbling into the Golden Age. The prices are fairly high, but not too high. What I'm saying is, like, you can pick up most of the kind of great good girl art covers from anywhere from $300 to $600 range, in that kind of sweet spot, and that's for low to mid grades. Okay, higher grades obviously are in the thousands. Low grades maybe under $200. So that can kind of give you the sense of the cost of Planet Comics. Now I'm going to show you my Planet Comics collection. Actually, I have a few more that are on order and that I'm waiting for, but these are the ones that I have right now that I can show. First is a really great one. This is a Joe Doolin cover. And, Planet Comics had a lot of great artists. It had Matt Baker, Lily Renee, Joe Doolin, Leah Elias, just really great artists that were associated with this series, and they did pretty amazing covers. So this is a bondage cover too, girl in the red dress. I always talk about how there's a girl in a red dress, always in bondage, always in a precarious situation. That's very typical of the Golden Age. So this is Planet Comics number 53. This one was actually mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent too, so it's kind of a double key. And this one, this is kind of a cool comic. And I didn't pay that much for it. I think it was like $200 or something like that. Next is another Joe Doolin. This is number 46. Just another kind of cool Amazonian woman kind of one. I always like Planet Comics because they have these kind of very sci-fi kind of fun covers. And here's a Lily Renee, number 49. Nice mermaid cover, underwater mermaid cover. Kind of a cool one. And another Lily Renee. I love this cover. This is one of my favorite from the Planet Comics run. And this is number 39. And it's just like this giant spider woman kind of in the people in the bubble. I think that's so cool. I just really like this one. And you got, if you can see in the spider web, there's a whole bunch of people trapped in the spider web. So there's so many little details to this one I really like. So this one is Lily Renee, and just a really great cover. And another one is number 50. Another kind of nice, sexy, good girl art cover. And this one is kind of cool because you got the skeleton hand. It's going to shoot them. It's kind of cool. So this is number 50. And this one, I actually haven't done the unboxing yet for it. So I'm kind of showing this in the future. You're going to see the unboxing for this. So this is almost like a sneak preview, but it's a really great, iconic Planet Comics one. One of the ones that kind of commands a lot of money generally. I got it for $600. And I've seen this one go for around $1,000 to $1,200 in the same grade. This is Planet Comics number 58, and it's just a really great cover. Cover is done by Joe Doolin again. So yeah, just a really great cover. I really like this one. And this one has been homaged a lot. Even Dave Stevens, one of my favorite artists, homaged this cover. So this is quite nice. The next one is Planet Comics 41. I just showed this recently in my snake cover challenge thing. And this is a really great one too. Just I love the Medusa. I love the girl in the red dress again. A little faded, but normally a red dress. And she's all pinned down. Her hair is pinned down. I just love this cover. Just really great Planet Comics. So Planet Comics number 41. So that's my Planet Comics collection. I'm working on getting more. As I said, there's a bunch that are coming in the mail. So I'm gonna expand my collection. I'm a completist, so I'm gonna try to get more issues. I think I have about 3 or 4 that are coming in the mail. So you'll see those in future unboxings. Okay, so that's that one. Next question. from JB24, what are your rarest Golden Age comics that you own? It would be great if you can show them to us on your next QA video. They do not have to be key issues. Okay, so this one requires a little bit of explanation. So with comics, and this doesn't matter if it's Golden Age or Modern Age, whatever age, generally scarcity is really hard to determine because, you don't know what you don't know. So the way we know how many books of whatever issue there is through the census. And the way we get the census is through people getting books graded. So generally, you can assume that there's a few extra books out there that are floating around that aren't graded. But for the most part, if the book is a key issue, if it's one with a great cover, if it's one that has some key significance, generally it will get graded. Okay, so that generally is the way to determine how many books there are, because if it's a key issue, you know that a whole bunch of people are going to get it graded. But if it's not a key issue, if it's like lacking it doesn't have a great cover, it doesn't have any key significance, it's not a key issue in any way, it doesn't have a first appearance, generally nobody's going to bother getting it graded. It has no real value. It's kind of a junk book. Well, those books, it's really hard to determine how valuable they are because nobody gets them graded. So I can think of a lot of books like that where actually it's really funny. Every so often I'll see this on eBay where people will get really some junk comic, like zero value to it, graded. And they'll say it's the highest graded, only one on the census, super rare. Well, probably it's not rare. It's just nobody bothered to get it graded. So the books that I'm going to show that are the rarest ones in my collection are ones that fit the criteria of what we can actually say, hey, these are really rare because none of them, they would have gotten graded if people had them to get graded. So they're just rare books because they're rare books. Nobody has these books. So yeah, so that's kind of the way I kind of preference this, because you really got to understand that not every book that is scarce on the census is actually truly scarce. Okay, so with all that preamble, I'll show you my scarce books. So the first one, and this one's really rare and really one that people chase after, and it's just one that if you had it, you would get it graded because it is such a cool book. This is Women Outlaws #1. So generally #1s, even if they're not a key book, will get graded because they're #1, and that in itself is a key. So this one is quite rare. When I say quite rare, there's like only 20 on the census. Actually 19 on the census, not even 20. So there's only 19 of these on the census. This is sort of like one of the mid-grade ones. There's a few higher grade ones on the census. But this one was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent, and it's actually for the cover. So that's kind of cool. And it's just a great book. Only 19 of these on the census. Really rare, really cool. Really like that book. Okay, the next one. This is a super rare book. Crown Comics #3. This is a Matt Baker cover. So again, another one of these ones that people would get graded if they had it. It's also a key first appearance. It is the first appearance of Vuda, which is the first black superhero, or hero, I should say, not superhero, but hero. And that's not him. So Matt Baker did the cover. And Matt Baker is just considered one of the premier artists of the Golden Age. Just a really great artist. So yeah, so this is a key comic, and there's only 9 of these on the census. Really rare. I was super excited to get this in my collection. There is one that's higher graded than this, but this is a Promise Collection book, which is kind of cool as well. So double kind of coolness to it. Next book is another super scarce one, and this one I was super excited to have it in my collection. This is Crime Detective #9. And this is another one from the Seduction of the Innocent collection. It has Frederick Wortham right there. He's the guy that wrote The Seduction of the Innocent. And this is kind of a parody of him because, you know, he was the one that was so vocal against comics and they really wanted to shut him up. So they put a little gag on him. This is the highest graded copy of this comic. Really scarce. There's only 9 known to exist, on census at least. Actually, I have 2 copies. So one of them is ungraded, and you'll see it in a future unboxing. But really rare comic. You just don't see this book ever. So yeah, so this is yeah, and it's the highest graded. So kind of cool to have a little cap in my feather in my cap kind of thing, because it is such a cool book. Only 9 on the census. Next one is another really, really rare book, and I was so excited to have this one in my collection, is Funny Stuff #1. And this is like the first appearance of the Mouseketeers, and it's also the first appearance of a character that I love, McSnurtle. I always go on about McSnurtle. Myrtle McSnurtle. So yeah, so it's just a kind of a cool book for me. This is the highest again on the census. It's a 9.4. There's only, I believe, 5. How many of them? 8 on the census. There's only 8 of these on the census, and this is the highest graded copy. This is actually another pedigree book. This is from the Carson City collection, so kind of cool pedigree book as well. Just a really great book, hard to find. I was super excited to find it. I had it on sort of like an alert, so when it got posted, I immediately bought it. I bought it within 2 minutes of it getting posted, so I was super excited to get it. The last time that it had sold prior to me buying it was like 10 years ago. So just a really, really rare book that you have to jump on when it comes up. So that was that one. I had 2 more that I want to show. A few more, actually 3 more. The next one is really rare. This one kind of has some, this one is kind of more in that range where maybe there's probably more out there, but people just didn't bother getting them graded. There's only 2 of these on the census. This is Taffy Comics #4. I just really like the cover. It wasn't expensive. It was like $100 or something, a couple hundred, like under a couple $100. But just really rare. You don't see it that often. I actually picked up Taffy Tales #1, which is also another rare book that has an LB Cole cover. So I think that's also under 10 on the census. And for LB Cole, that means that it's probably, maybe there's only 20 known to exist. You know, that kind of level. Super rare books. But this one is Carl Wessler art. Just a kind of really, I just really like the Good Girl art cover. Okay, now I'm going to show you 2 books that are actually not on the census, but probably will be soon because I'll get them graded. The first one is one that I'm going to send off to my friend Jerry the Jitterbug. So this is one that is Canadian white, and there's none of these on the census. It is just a ghost. If you see them, they're probably the only ones that exist. That's the kind of level. For these Canadian whites, they're just insanely rare. They used really crappy paper, so they kind of fall apart. And this one is in pretty rough shape. Just a really rare book. Next one is Derry Loves #31. This is insanely rare. It is a key book because it's mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. Mine's in a 5.5. This is actually quite high grade. I think it actually could be pressed out and get a 7. There's no color breaking spine ticks. Maybe down here, a little bit of a scuff, but that's about it. Really high grade for this book, and there's none of these on the census. Really rare book, highly sought after book. Just nobody has it except me. So it is just, I don't know how many of these would exist. It is a really rare book. Derry Loves #31. So just none of them on the census. So those will be the first to get on the census because I own them. So, and I'm going to send them off. So next question. hopefully that answered your question well. Next question comes from Comic Book Ninja. I'm not sure if you've answered this before, but do you have any comic conventions or shows in the area that you live in? I believe you mentioned that you went to a big show in Toronto, but I'm not sure if you live in Toronto area. Are there any flea markets or swap meets that you go to find comics? Have you ever been to a convention in the States? If not, do you plan to? And if so, which one would you try to go to? Okay, so I haven't been to any comic conventions in the United States, but I did go to some really big flea markets in the United States because every year I go to the US for like sort of a family get together because half my family lives in the United States. My brother is from California, and my parents have a home in Florida, and they every winter they kind of go. They're snowbirds. They fly down down south, and we always have sort of like a family get together every Christmas. So I will kind of go to the different flea markets and comic shops at that time to check out books. So that's kind of how limited I am. However, I did almost go to a big fan expo in the United States, but my wife wanted to go shopping instead, and I missed out. And my kids wanted to go. My wife was the one was like, "Hey, let's go to this big mall instead." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So sad, but yeah. So I tried to go to some big ones in California, but yeah, missed out because of the wife. She really doesn't appreciate the comics. So in terms of Canada, though, I am going to. I live really close to Toronto. When I say really close, if there's no traffic, absolutely zero traffic, I can get downtown, like right down to the waterfront of Toronto in about 30 minutes, like 20, 30 minutes all the way down. Like I've done it before, where I went there like 4 o'clock in the morning. I drove all the way downtown and it took me like 20 minutes. I was like zipping. It's kind of funny. I actually went through a few red lights, but shh, don't tell anyone. Okay. So yeah, it was kind of fun. But yeah, so I'm very close to Toronto is my point. And every year they have what's called Fan Expo. And Fan Expo is kind of like anime, movies, TV, and comics. With a lot of comics. I mean, it is a big comic convention. It's not really a comic convention, but it is a comic convention. And that happens this month. I'm going to be going there on Sunday, the 28th. So if you want to run into me and see me at the Canadian Fan Expo, I will be there in Toronto on August 28th. I'll be there all day. Just sort of wandering around with my kids looking at comics. So if you're in the Toronto area, you might run into me. Okay, so that's sort of my announcement as well. So and if you want to give me free comics, I'm willing to take them. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so yeah, so the next and last question, really great question, is from Collecto6. He wrote, what would you consider your biggest sleeper books from each of the 4 ages? Gold, bronze, copper. Okay, so I did a bit of research for this one, and I had some books that I kind of thought would be kind of cool. But I'm going to show you ones that, based on what I saw, I think these are either super undervalued or ones that are poised to kind of spike in value. Okay, so that's, there's probably 1,000 other books that I could have mentioned. I'm just picking 4. So one from each age. But so when I say these books, don't say, oh, well, you should have mentioned that one. Well, you can tell me which one that is, but, I'm mentioning the ones that I did a little bit of research and thought, hey, these ones are pretty good choices. Not the biggest, maybe, but maybe ones that I could think of that are really good. Okay, so the first is the Golden Age. And the one that I'm going to mention is actually I actually have all of these books And I'm not mentioning them because I have all these books. I'm mentioning them because I actually do believe that these are kind of key specs. Um, so the first one is Popeye. And actually, I should have bought a different copy of this. I wish I had bought, like, there was somebody that had a really high graded one for really inexpensive, and I was going to buy it, and then somebody else bought it before I got a chance. But this is Popeye #1. The first, not really first title, but first early title of Popeye. I recommend this book because it is Popeye #1. It's just kind of a cool book, kind of a cool character that has been kind of recently undervalued. I mean, there are Popeye collectors out there, but really just a character that is underutilized right now. So, there was a movie with Robin Williams that featured Popeye, um, but there hasn't been really much talk about him recently. So he's kind of like a character that's sort of, the heat is kind of off him. And when that situation happens where you get this kind of, I would say, iconic character that people just aren't thinking about, so the value is kind of on the low side right now. Um, this is a good book to pick up, I think. It's really funny, actually. King Comics #1, which is the first appearance of Popeye, was actually back in the 70s. I actually have the old price guides. It was the #1 most valuable book of all time at that time in the 70s. So, as I said, this book has a lot of potential. Not, this isn't the first appearance of Popeye, but it's a good book. It's affordable. You can pick up a high grade for $500. Um, just a really great key. So I actually did some research on it. You can pick up the highest ever grade for $3,000, a low grade for about $100, and a mid grade, mid to high grade, like let's say like a 5 to 7.5, for about $500. Not too bad, with that key potential to go up. So that was the one that I thought of for the Golden Age. There's probably a lot of other good Golden Age books and that I love, that, I would say like Miss Fury or, Phantom Lady or all these other ones. But I think this is one that is kind of a character that everyone recognizes, that just strangely isn't valued as if everyone recognizes it. It's kind of strange that way. Because you could actually ask people about Popeye anywhere in the world and they would know the character. That to me is an iconic character. Okay, so next one is Silver Age. Now, the one that I chose for the Silver Age is kind of interesting. And I just think, I consider this a DC effect, where it is undervalued because it's a DC book. If it was a Marvel book, it would be like 10 times more expensive. But this is My Greatest Adventure #80. And it is the first appearance of the Doom Patrol. So you got the first appearance of all the major Doom Patrol characters. Like, I'll read it. It is the first appearance of the Doom Patrol, Negative Man, Elastigirl, the Chief, and Silver Age Robot Man. All in this one book. So just a whole bunch of key appearances and a book that is undervalued. And now, Doom Patrol is one of those few DC projects that is still ongoing. It is still on the air. They're producing episode after episode. I think it's in season 3 or 4, and it's not a bad show. So, why isn't it more valuable? That's my question. So, just a really great book. Their key first appearances. And that book, I looked up the numbers on it, really affordable. Really, really affordable book. On the low end, it's like $120. On the high end, the highest graded copy you can buy for about $4,000, which to me is very, very affordable for a major Silver Age book. And you can get like a mid grade, like a 5 to 6.0 range for around $600. Not too bad. My copy would be around that $500 range. So to me, that's very affordable for a Silver Age big book. just insane how affordable it is. The next book that I'm going to mention is from the Bronze Era. And this one I actually think is totally underrated, totally undervalued. And it's a book that I love. It's Fear number 19. So this is a venture into Fear number 19. And probably you're not familiar with this book, not many people are, but this book is the first appearance of Howard the Duck. And Howard the Duck is one of those characters. He's had his own feature movie, which was actually not bad. But he's a character that I believe the creators at Marvel love. And when the creators at Marvel love a character, they like to insert that character into the movies. So Howard the Duck has actually been featured in a lot of the MCU movies. It's amazing how many movies he's sort of casually appeared in. If you look at the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he was just recently in the What If series. He is a character that the creators love, and they'll kind of insert him in the movies. I think he is one that is poised to have another feature film, and I think he'd is a really great spec, and it's just such an affordable book. And when I say affordable, like I'll get into the numbers, and it's just insane how affordable it is. You can pick up, I'm not even saying low grade, like mid grade for $85. Okay. And you can pick up like the highest graded comic ever, and the highest priced version of that did sell for $3,000, but that was the highest grade, and that was like an extreme case. Okay. You can pick up a 9.0, like 9.0. That's a reasonably high grade for $270. That's pretty affordable. So yeah, for what to me is a very big character, like I have a little bit more interest in the character because of the fact that, for me, Howard the Duck was the character that got me into collecting comics as a collection thing. So yeah, and I've told the story about that many times. But yeah, Howard the Duck, first appearance, kind of a cool book. The last one is from the Copper Age, and the one that I chose was Lobo's first appearance, which is in Omega Men 3. It is a book that is highly undervalued. Like, Lobo has appeared in the cartoon series, and it's also a character that, could be like DC's version of like making fun of like some of the bigger superheroes. Like, it kind of makes fun of like I would say like a lot of Marvel's characters, like that they're overpowered, and that they, Lobo is this kind of overpowered character, rebellious character. Almost makes fun of Deadpool or something like that. Lobo is one of those characters that I see having a lot of potential, that they could do like a spin-off movie for him or something like that in the future. So it's just a character that has a following, is a character that's well established, and like the other ones that I mentioned for the other ages, it is a book that is highly undervalued. And maybe it's the curse of DC that a lot of their stuff really hasn't gone up as much as, say, Marvel books have. But these books are just really affordable. So you can get a mid-grade, like not a low-end book, but a mid-grade for $40. And a high grade, like a 9.8 for $300. So just a really affordable key for a major key, hero's first appearance. I actually looked up a 9.6, which is kind of like that next best thing, and you can pick those up for anywhere from $120 to $150. And you could probably even get like maybe even a deal where you find it around $100. So just a really affordable key that I think is just underrated, undervalued. So those were the four eras, and kind of the ones that I picked. And that's it for this Q&A video.